So let's talk about AI agents. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how they're making the leap from simple tools that just follow commands into, well, proactive teammates that can actually start to think for themselves. Okay, so let's start with a really common problem, one I bet you've run into. You ask your favorite chatbot something simple, like, hey, when's my next coffee chat? And it just tells you it can't help. It doesn't have access. It's frustrating, right? But the reason why it fails is actually the key to understanding this entire evolution. And the answer to that question, why it can't check your calendar, really boils down to two big limitations of the AI we use every day. First, there's a knowledge problem. It's stuck with its training data. But second, and this is the really crucial part, it has a passivity problem. It just sits there and waits for you. It never, ever takes the first step.
All right, so to really get where this is all headed, we have to start at level 1, today's AI. And that means we have to talk about the foundation it's all built on, large language models, or LLMs.
Think of an LLM as the engine inside something like ChatGPT. It's actually pretty straightforward. You give it an input, a prompt, and it spits out an output, just text, based on all the data it was trained on. Simple input, simple output. And you know what? For certain things, it is absolutely fantastic. We've all done this, right? Asked it to draft a quick, polite email that just sounds a little bit better than we could write in the moment. Simple input, super useful output. But here's the catch. The second we ask about the timing of that coffee chat, it hits a wall. And that brings us right back to those two fundamental problems. It has limited knowledge, and it is completely passive. It only ever responds. So, okay, how do we start to get around these problems? Well, that brings us to level 2, following a path. This is where we introduce the idea of AI workflows. A workflow is really just a set of instructions, a path that a human lays out for the AI to follow. We basically tell it, hey, before you do anything else, your first step is to check my Google Calendar. Now, when we ask about that coffee chat, it has a path to follow, and it can give us the right answer. But here's the problem, and it's a big one. That path is totally rigid. If you ask a simple follow-up question like, okay, cool, what's the weather going to be like? The whole thing just breaks. It only knows one road, the one to the calendar, and there's no weather forecast there.
And this whole idea actually helps us unpack a buzzword you've probably heard thrown around, RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. It sounds super complicated, but it's really just a specific type of workflow that tells the AI to go look something up from a calendar, a weather app, whatever, before it gives you an answer.
Let's look at a real-world example, because this is where it gets cool. You can build a workflow that automatically creates social media posts. First, it pulls news links from a spreadsheet. Then, it uses one AI to summarize them, then another AI to draft the actual posts for LinkedIn and Instagram. And the best part? It's all scheduled to run by itself, every morning at 8 a.m. But here's the crucial thing to remember. Even with all that automation, a human is still pulling all the strings. A person has to design that entire path from scratch. And if the posts don't sound quite right, well, a human has to go back in and start tweaking the prompts. All that tedious trial and error, that's still on us. All right, and that sets the stage perfectly for the final level, level 3, thinking for itself. This is where we make the leap to true AI agents, and honestly, this is where it gets incredibly exciting. Okay, so we've seen that workflows are super useful, right? But they've got that one major flaw. They're rigid, they can't think on their feet, and they always need a human to step in and make the important calls. And that leads us to what is, without a doubt, the single biggest idea in this whole explainer. The one massive change that turns a workflow into an agent is when the human decision maker gets replaced by an LLM. So think about what that means. Instead of you or me thinking through the steps and then using the tools to get the job done, the agent's own brain, its LLM, does both the thinking and the doing. It reasons about the best plan, and then it takes action to make it happen. And there's a name for this. It's called the React framework. It's just a simple way of saying the agent needs two core skills: the ability to reason, to figure out the next best step, and the ability to act on it, to actually go and use the tools to do it.
And when you put those two things together, you unlock the agent's superpower. It can iterate all by itself. Imagine it drafts that LinkedIn post, and then it looks at its own work and goes, is this any good?
It can check its own work against best practices, and if it's not good enough, it just tries again and again until it nails it. No human help needed.
Okay, so let's wrap this up by putting it all side by side so you can really see the whole journey from start to finish.
So you can see the whole story here, right? We start with the decision maker. At levels 1 and 2, it's always the human. But at the agent level, the LLM itself takes over. The path evolves from having no path at all to a rigid, predefined one, and finally to a dynamic one the agent figures out on its own. And the key trait? It evolves from just generating text to following instructions to actually truly achieving a goal. And that really leaves us with one big, exciting question to think about. Now that you understand what these agents are, and more importantly, what they're becoming capable of, what is the very first goal you would give to your own personal AI agent?